All right, everybody. I'm not even going to say welcome to another episode, but here we are. This episode was not planned. I mean, granted, none of my Let's Grab a Beer episodes are planned at all. Uh, I was intending to wait another week or so before I did my next Let's Grab a Beer. Um, but uh, things are on my mind, obviously. Giving the title right now, it is September 11th, which is also the anniversary of 9/11, which we should definitely never forget. Don't let the tragedies of what happened distract us from things that got us to where we are today either. But it's September 11th at like 11:17 or 1:17, 1:16 p.m. Before I get too into the episode, a couple disclaimers I'm going to be throwing out there. First one specifically, uh, I am saddened and distraught and upset and admittedly slightly angry over what has happened recently. But I'm going to be 100% upfront and honest. I did know who Charlie Kirk was. I did not follow him too much. Was well aware of what he does. I watched a few of his video or shorts and stuff. I didn't really watch any of his full length videos. I am sad that he lost his life. I'm very sad, and my heart goes out to his family. But I know a lot of people lost a good friend or somebody they looked up to. I didn't really know a whole lot about him, so I'm not going to pretend like his death specifically affected me because of the individual. His death more, or the assassin. I'm going to stop calling what death. I mean, yeah, he died, but the assassination has affected me because of what it means for us in this country. Again, I am very sad that my heart broke. I just found out about maybe an hour ago that his wife and kids were actually at the event when it happened. And apparently they normally don't go to those events. For whatever reason, they were there this time. So, agree, Purdy. Studio is best for this type of thing. I know people are like, well, it's going to count to your creator hours. Yeah, it is. Whatever. But from what I heard, and unfortunately, like I said, his family was actually at the event. His kids. I don't know. I'm assuming both his kids. The way it's been worded. One of the things that really breaks my heart because I found this last night because I couldn't sleep for a while. A lot of us probably couldn't sleep. So I don't know much about his wife either. I do know they are both very devout Christians. Kirk believed in family and a good family. And the X algorithm being the X algorithm threw her account into my feed. And it was this specifically. She posted this at 12:45 p.m. yesterday. Psalms 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Couple things are significant about that. First, that I was not aware she routinely posts Bible verses on her X page. I mean, it's not the only thing she posts. There's other things, but her feed is quite full of her posting Bible verses, giving you an idea what kind of person she is. Second, the reason why I read the time and date of when she posted this, that's roughly 35 minutes after Charlie was shot. And initially I was wondering, like, did she know when she posted this verse, or had she not been informed that her husband was shot when she posted that verse? Come to find out, she was there. So this verse was posted roughly 35 minutes after her husband was shot, allegedly right in front, not allegedly shot, but allegedly in front of her and her kids' eyes. That shows you what kind of Christian family this was. Like I said, first of all, I am a Christian myself. I am not a very good one. It is very evident, especially with how I responded last night to some people's posts. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not proud of it. But I admittedly acted out of anger, and I can't remember what the verse is, but slow to anger, slow to wrath, and I failed that last night, and I'm going to be honest about that. I am not a perfect Christian. You guys have obviously seen a lot of my streams. I make inappropriate jokes. I cuss a lot. I get angry, and getting angry in the way I get angry is in fact a sin. My cussing, me personally believe is a sin, especially how I go about doing it. So with that being said, that's my next disclaimer. I'm going to try my best to reduce the amount of cussing I do in the stream. I'm not perfect. I am human. I am not God or Jesus Christ. The purpose of being a Christian is to strive to be better and strive to be more like Christ. I'm not successful at it. And I know a lot of people who may be Christians or of a similar faith are looking at me, hold this beer in my hand, and say, well, you're drinking, that's a sin. That's not an argument I'm willing to get into right now, but I firmly believe the Bible says do not be drunk with wine. I do fail at that repeatedly. I have been drunk many times. A lot of you have seen me get drunk many times. That is in fact a sin, but drinking, I do not personally believe is a sin on its own. Nobody is, Dork. Nobody is. Charlie Kirk, as much as we all look up to him, or many people look up to him, again, I'm not going to pretend like I was a huge fan or follower. I don't know a lot. I knew he founded Turning Point USA. I knew people are saying he was in line up to be a president at some point, or run for president. Lord knows how our country will be voting by the time he would have been running. They were saying his Turning Point events where should be the RNC and not the actual RNC itself. I know he went to college campuses to have open debate and discussion. That's what the main reason why I'm sad and scared about this whole thing. It is not to downplay who he was as a person. It is not to downplay who he meant to everybody that he affected. It's just I'm going to be open and honest. I'm not going to pretend I'm upset and sad because somebody I followed in support had been assassinated. I'm sad for what this means for our country. The next disclaimer I want to put out there is this is, like I said, I can't remember if I said during the recording, to be honest. I said it before I started recording. This is not meant to make money. This is not, I am well aware I'm going to be making, well, let's be honest, I'm not going to make any ad revenue on this, on Rumble. And if I did, it's not going to be much. I don't want rants. I don't want subs. I'm not going to be promoting any of my merch. I'm not going to do premium like I normally do on these, what I've recently done on these episodes. I am not going to promote any of my other content that I have planned or any of my plans for me as a creator. With that being said, that also means I am on live currently on Rumble, YouTube, X, Twitch, and Kick. I know Twitch and Kick are, well, you know what? Twitch and Kick are just the same as any other platform. You can stream whatever you want there. I'm well aware this could potentially get me taken down on those platforms, and honestly, I really don't care. It just will show what they are as a people who run those platforms. The reason why I'm doing this, I want this to reach as many people as physically possible, which is not going to be a lot coming from me. I don't have a massive following. The following I do have, only a select few actually routinely show up in my content. This is not for me. This is because it is time. It's been time for a long time that we do everything we can to save this country. So I want this to stay up on YouTube. I want this to stay up on Twitch. And I want this to stay up on Kick. I'm not really worried about being taken down on X. But the other three I mentioned, I'm more likely to have that happen. When I post the upload for this as well, the main reason I'm recording it is just the quality of audio and visual will be much better than it is live. And I'm sure I can see the criticism, like, well, you're doing that to also bolster your numbers and followership and all that stuff. That's fine. It's fair criticism. You could definitely be seen that way. Or this will Bowden. Yes, Purdy. And actually, that's something, part of the reason why I'm talking about what's sad in me and where I'm going for with this. And the final disclaimer is this is not going to resonate well with a lot of people. I know Purdy and Dork share a lot of the same religious beliefs I do. So I know they will be fine with what I'm about to say, but not everybody watching this will be. But um, and I'm going to harp on this at the end of the video when I do the end of it all. I ultimately know God and we will win in the end, despite everything that's been going on the past 10 or so years. I know in the end, no matter what happens to us as a individual, or as us as a country, or us as the human race goes, God and us as Christians will win in the end. And that's the only reason why I haven't gone into a deep, dark path. I'm discouraged. I'm sad. I'm depressed. Depression is hitting. I'm not going to pretend like I'm ultimately like that's good enough for me to get through the day, but it is good enough to stop me from going in a much darker path than I should be. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the conversation. But before we do, I am going to say a prayer, something I normally don't do in any of my streams or videos. And I'm sure I'll be called a hypocrite for this because of how I conduct myself online routinely. But that's, again, if like the Bible says, ye without sin cast the first stone. So, and I'm sure that's going to come back to me later after I get further into this topic in general. So with that being said, I'm going to pray real quick. You can listen along or whatever you want to do with it or however you handle yourselves. But I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, we need it. Two, one of the things, I don't remember what I saw people sharing it. I don't remember when he shared it or posted it. Charlie said, this weekend, tell somebody about Jesus. Well, it's not the weekend, but I want to do better and do my part to tell somebody about Jesus. And what a better way than doing this online, where hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions. I doubt it, but who knows? I don't know. Um, we'll see and hear this. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and pray real quick. But dear Lord, thank you for the day that you've given us and the beautiful weather that you've provided me today and anybody else. Thank you for another day on this earth. Thank you for the freedoms we do, in fact, enjoy. I know this conversation is going to get very dark and probably black-pilled and depressing when it comes to those freedoms. But as of right now, we are still able to enjoy these freedoms in a country that I would argue is still one of the best countries in the world, despite everything that's going on. I come to you to pray for Charlie, first of all, and most importantly, Charlie Kirk's family and the pain and suffering they must be going through, especially if they were in fact, there to witness it in person. In their hearts, comfort them, strengthen them, and help his kids still live a full and productive life, even though they will be missing their father. Help these kids grow with pride with what their father has done. I know his wife loves him and is very happy and proud of him for what he's done. I can only imagine what she's thinking. She may be feeling anger towards you. She may be feeling anger to those who carried this out. Certainly no, I'm feeling anger to those who carried this out and the people that are supporting this. Please bring healing to her, to me, to everybody else that may be sharing the same feelings as I am, and to this country. Most importantly, this country is going in a dark path, and we maybe slip into a period where this country may not be relevant in the future. And this may be the start of it. It may be the start of a great revival and a great awakening, which I pray and hope for. But ultimately, let us always remember that you are in control. The victory is in you, and we will have victory after all this, despite what may happen in the United States from here on out. Please bring me patience as I continue with this episode, so I don't act out in anger and wrath, Lord. And please help this touch somebody. And please help give guidance to our leaders that they may make wise, informed decisions that will glorify you, Lord. And in your name, amen. I'm just hoping that the rapture comes. Dork, honestly, and then that's one of the things I want to talk about. We should always long for the day Jesus comes back, but to be so reliant on the rapture coming back so we don't have to go through these things anymore. I personally, for me, I don't think it's the right answer. We don't know the day, the time, or the hour when he will return and when the rapture will begin. Um, and we should act accordingly. It may not come back in our lifetimes. It may not come back for another 10 years, 100 years. It may not come back for another 1,000 years. We don't know. Do I believe we're heading in that path? I do. But so did people during World War II and World War One. So did people during many other conflicts and depressing eras. We don't know. I I understand why you feel that way, and I don't mean this to be condemning or make you feel bad, but you should always have hope and feel comforted in knowing that is to come. But I don't think it should be rushed or pushed in any way. There are still people that can be saved, and the quicker the rapture happens, the less of those people will be saved. So the more time we have on this earth to reach out to those people, the better. It may be painful, it may be a struggle, but the Bible also says God will never give us more than we can handle. It may feel that way, but he won't. I found today, sifting through the media and mud, Charlie was a Protestant evangelical who wanted to revive old Christian veneration of Mary for the sake of toxic feminism. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Veneration of Mary for the sake of toxic feminism, as in to fight toxic feminism or to support toxic feminism. I'm assuming to fight. He said Mary is the cure for toxic feminism. Okay. Um, the first thing I'm gonna admittedly, I did not conduct myself in a very Christian fashion. I was very calm and stoic, I guess maybe, during last night's stream when Dork informed me of what happened. I was not aware before I went live what happened to Charlie, and I try to conduct myself as business as usual. Um, when I found out he passed away, it definitely did not sit well with me. It hit me hard. I'm sorry about the laptop if you guys can hear that or not. I don't know if you can. Um, and I was very angry after I got off. I went with a walk with my wife. We obviously talked about it for a little bit. She knew who Charlie Kirk was. I don't think she followed him either, but she knew who he was. It was alarming to me to hear her say, well, he was a right wing activist. I mean, yes, that's not far off, but the way she said it is a way you often hear the media portray right wing activists. And it's not in the sense of right wing as in a conservative with Christian values, but the way I took it anyway is, I don't think she feels this way. It's just the way she portrayed it, that he's a racist, a sexist, a homophobic, something that hates people of those groups. And it was kind of alarming to know that so many people actually are still believing this. Just in general, he is an activist. Obviously, he's an activist, but he was an activist that believed in and I'm going to probably butcher his quote, but it's a good quote. When the conversation ends, violence begins. Sorry, my dog is losing their mind for some reason. So let me give us a quick second to stop the recording and deal with the dogs real quick. But I'll be right back. I'm so ill prepared for this. My battery's actually halfway dead on my camera. I'm charging another one, and I didn't really get to let my dogs out, so that's why. Two of them were sitting at the door staring at me, which they normally don't do unless they really need to go out. While my other one was out here, and unfortunately, my oldest one hates my youngest one, and they fight. So they all three can't be out at the same time. What was I saying? I know I was talking about how I responded to the situation and how not very Christ-like it was. I'm not taking those posts down because I think far too many Christians are so worried about trying to be as perfect as possible that they, whenever they do screw up, they try to hide it from everybody. I'm not saying that it gives the Christians the right to act out and sin and be horrible people, but I do think at the end of the day we need to understand we're human. We should always try to be more Christ-like, and we should do better. And I think that's what Charlie would hope we get a lot of this out of this. Oh, I was talking about he said his quote about when the conversation ends, violence begins. And unfortunately, despite his incredible effort to continue the conversation as much as possible, reach out to the other side, inviting them to have a conversation, they weren't having it. He was, in his mind, the conversation was going to continue. And those who, I'm not going to say everybody on the left and not going to say every liberal and Democrat, but those who are celebrating and support what happened yesterday, and those who even mildly feel relieved that it happened, they have decided in their minds the conversation has ended and it is the time for violence. My and I firmly believe a lot of politicians, media personalities, and influencers on that side of the fence, this blood and the blood of many others are on their hands. One I want to Ilhan Omar immediately trying to make this about guns. AOC making this about guns. Elizabeth Warren making this immediately about guns. Come to find out it's a bolt action rifle. So they're saying the loud part out loud again. They don't care about what kind of gun it is. They want to ban all guns. Stephen King. I mean, Stephen King's not really anybody should, and a person anybody should look up. Period, or looked up to. Period. But he is prominent and he doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. I'm gonna admittedly probably get angry as I talk about this, and I'm gonna try my best not to. There's ultimately, and personally, actually speaking of anger, ultimately, I don't think there's anything wrong with anger to a degree. I mean, Jesus himself flipped tables in the synagogue, in the temple, out of anger. There's a time and a place for everything, and it needs to be done in moderation. So I'm trying my best. If I do get angry, keep it in moderation and do it appropriately. And I mentioned Ed Krasenstein. He didn't make about guns. David Hogg, obviously, shocker, made it about guns. I'm intentionally listing these people because these people have a lot of power and a lot of influence. Hassan, he didn't make it about guns, but Hassan's another one that I'm intentionally calling out. Now, are Republicans free of guilt and blame on this? No, they absolutely are not. Just like the Democrats latching onto guns as their justification for things, the Republicans are, before we even knew who the shooter, we still don't even really know who the shooter is, they were blaming the trans community. Now, is there evidence to support that it is the trans community? Yes, there is, but until I hear and see more, I don't think it's enough to say it is 100% to the trans community. Do I believe it's somebody on the left? Absolutely 100%. Now, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be popular with a lot of people in general, too. It is a possibility this could be a false flag. And I know people are going to be like, Conda, you're a conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, yes, I do support Trump. I do support his administration. I support most of what his administration is doing. But he is not free from criticism. He's not free from sin. He and his administration are not free from evil. And it may not even be necessarily his administration. It could be rogue elements in his administration. The point is, this has been done before. A lot of evidence. What is it? The CIA assassinated MLK, RFK. There's evidence supporting potentially of that. We have seen examples time and time again where our government is not beneath carrying out such vicious acts to achieve a goal. Do I think that is the leading cause? No, but I am not going to brush off those who are calling this out. Let me get caught up in chat too. I do see. Well, let me finish this thought and I'll get caught up in chat. Unfortunately, I can't see my screen very well to see where the scroll bar is, because there's definitely a lot that was said before I can get to it. So I'm not ruling that option out. I'm right now, my go-to is this is absolutely a leftist that wanted to silence Kirk. And in a way, they could still be behind our government. It could be on the left side of the government that's behind this. It could be a lone individual actor from a private or group or an organization. Um, but I'm leaning towards it was somebody driven by leftist ideology, and they were sick of losing the fight, so they took drastic measures to hopefully turn the tide. Unfortunately, though, for them, not for us. If that were the case, I think, um, much like the attack on Pearl Harbor woke a sleeping giant. I mean, granted, some of us have not been asleep, but the majority of us have been, still are, or are groggy, and hopefully this wakes up a lot of them. I think this is going to have the opposite effect, maybe, because it is also possible they did this because they want the right to act out violently. They've been calling us the most violent group or side of the fence, and yet time and time again we see it's them, and they're hoping to get us to react accordingly. Um, and I'm not saying there is no time that we should refrain from action, but we have to be careful on how we do it, because obviously I acknowledge things like the Jericho and the Bible, David and Goliath. Violent actions were carried out to achieve things, but I'm trying to be careful because I'm not calling for people to get violent, get active now. What I'm trying to say, there's possibly of a time that it may come to that, and it may be because the left pushed our hands. I hope that's not the case. I do not want that to happen. I would absolutely love the Charlie Kirk way of things to continue, where we continue the conversation, but it's hard to have a conversation with people who refuse to listen. And if they rather carry it out through violent, or continue their form of conversation through violent acts, we obviously need to do what we can to protect us and those that we care and love. Um, with that being said, I will try to get caught up on chat too. Before I continue to my next thought, we're going to talk about the names I mentioned specifically. Hold on. I should have done this before I started, but I wasn't thinking. What was the last thing I read? It was something about Mary that Purdy said. Yeah. Okay, there it is. I'm praying that more people seeing the demons that are celebrating the tragedy, and that's one of the positive. I'm going to try to my best to end this on a positive note, Dork, and that's one of the positive things I'm going to touch on is people waking up to see the as literal or figurative demons that are in our country right now. I do believe there are demons in our country right now. I'm not going to say who I think it is. It's not for me to make that call. Charlie was asked how he hopes he would. I remember that. I not remember. I saw that video last night. What if? And it was beautiful. His answer was for his faith, and that's honestly what a lot of Christians should strive for. Apostate prophet David Wood and inspiring. Apostate prophet David Wood and inspiring. First of all, prophets don't exist anymore, Dork. I'm sorry. I'm not going to agree with you on that. If you're trying to say David Wood is a modern prophet, there are no prophets in this time. He can be wise, and this is the inappropriate time, dogs. Bella, Zeus. Hey, Bella, stop. Bella, no more. No more. I'm unsettled by the current state of affairs and the revenge doxing people are taking part in. So I'm also going to touch base on that as well, Purdy. I'm unsettled at the same time. I might have a point of view that you may not necessarily agree with on that. The religious community are very upset and heartbroken too. They should be. I have some choice words that I will refrain from saying on here for Elon and the rest of the left. I agree. Did the camera quit? Oh, you said, I think you need to refresh Purdy. Okay. Stupid app. My speculation is that over the last year or so, the people running MK Ultra program are active activating their assets, and whoever murdered Charlie Kirk was one of. I don't know if I would say he's necessarily like a long running asset. Could it be somebody they got to in the spur of the moment? I would say, but I don't think he's like a full 100% or she MK Ultra asset. And I'm not saying that she, as in like it's a man becoming a woman. Like it could very well be a female that did it too. Look at the trans shooter in Tennessee that happened a couple years ago that everybody keeps refusing to talk about. Uh, it destroyed the gray zone. Moderate right and moderate left aren't moderate anymore. Absolutely, those are YouTubers' playtime during the serious time. Yeah, that's what the dogs were doing. They were playing. I know it sounded like they were fighting. Bella, and I've been trying to break her of it. She growls when she plays. I don't like it because a lot of people think my dog is fighting their dog or fighting my dog or is being aggressive towards something, but she's not. She's just stupid. I love her to death, but she's stupid. Um, Now, getting onto those individuals I listed, Elon Omar, 1,000% believe, and this is not a call. I don't want violence. If we can deal with her civilly and without violence, I absolutely want to. That's 1,000% where I'd rather go with this. I don't want any violence to be carried out against her. I don't wish violence upon her. I am very angry at her. I 100% believe, or 1,000%, like I said earlier, that she is in fact an enemy of this country. And I do believe that she was put here by enemies of our country, along with Rashida Tlaib and other people like them. Um, do not for one bit feel that she's saddened by Charlie Kirk being killed. I think she's doing the political thing where she acts like she's sad, so people don't call her out. But the fact that she immediately, in the same breath, blamed guns for this, because I know she specifically would absolutely love, or I believe, I can't say I know, I believe specifically she absolutely would love nothing more than the population of the United States be 100% disarmed, not an assault weapons ban, not a high capacity mag ban, but 100% no guns in the possession of private citizens. I believe she and other people like her support that. Um, I didn't really see what AOC said, but I know she brought up guns. Which again, like I said, they're saying the law part out loud. They didn't even know what the type of firearm was, but they were calling for weapons bans. Some of them went even as far said Charlie would be still alive if we had more gun control. There's and then there's the other camp that is saying if it wasn't for Charlie's words, he would still be alive. It's all his fault. It's all Trump and his supporters' fault for continuing the rhetoric. No, it's their fault. And this, I'm going to get into Ed Kraz's scenes about this because he is a disgusting human being. I know God tells us we need to love one another, we need to treat each other with kindness, but I am struggling so hard to bring myself to do this for people like Ed and David Hogg and Harry Sesson and Hassan, because these people are disgusting, two-faced, paid shills, in my opinion. Ed talked about like he immediately started playing the victim. Not he said something. He did his whole post about woe is. I feel bad for Charlie's family. There's no need for political violence. Um, and same with Harry and David Hogg and Hassan. Um, Meanwhile, they have all many times, time and time again, have said things that were inflammatory. Do I think they should not be allowed to talk like that? No, I still believe in freedom of speech. But to say they're absolved of all guilt for what they have said and the flames they fanned, no, they are not. As far as I'm concerned, the blood of that poor girl in Charlotte and Kirk and the kids at the Catholic school are on their hands. The blood that was shed when Trump was shot, on their hands. I firmly believe constantly calling us Nazis, racists, white supremacists, sexist, bigots, homophobics, especially when, like, Harry Sessions specifically said, Charlie, you might as well just put a KKK hood on Charlie Kirk at this point, while saying that racist people are the worst people in the world and they need to be eliminated. And then they act like, oh, well, we never wanted this. You wanted this. You're just trying to save face now because you know there are a lot of dumb people in this country, very emotional dumb people in this country that refuse to see the truth for what it is. They just want to protect themselves while continuing to spread their lies. And Ed is the perfect example of this because in one breath he's saying, I feel for Charlie Kirk, I never want violence. And then he starts going the woe is me, I'm getting death threats. Is the right going to call this out? Is this it? I'm trying really hard not to cuss and get angry, because he also said, this is not a one side issue. This is a both sides thing. It is not a one side issue. Yes, they are violent aggressors and people on the right, and they are constantly called out and put to shame and held accountable for their actions. But you know what? His ilk though, that it for every that I don't. This is not an exact number. I'm just throwing a number out there, so don't quote this as fact. For every 10 violent acts by the left, there's one violent act by the right. And personally, I don't feel like the not everything that happened at the Capitol was the right as a whole. A lot of it I do feel is provoked. I do believe there was plants in the crowd, and I do believe uh, um, agitators intentionally put there to escalate the situation. Um, Majority of those people in that crowd on January 6th were there to peacefully protest, and then they got agitated. Does it make it right for those who did carry out violent acts? No. Is everybody that carried out violent acts on January 6th just some innocent bystander that got agitated? No, there were people that definitely went there for violence, and they are wholeheartedly condemned, in my opinion, and should be. And like I said, how many times do you hear the right immediately, and before they even know the facts, immediately it happened to Nicholas Sandman? Am I getting his name right? The kid that was in DC that got approached by somebody, the Native American that was banging drums in his face, and they immediately said he was the agitator. Come to find out, he was not. And a lot of right condemned him immediately. I think the right is too quick to condemn their own, to be honest, because a lot of times they don't even wait for the facts to come out. So there are people on the right that condemned Kyle Rittenhouse, and but like I said, and Kyle Rittenhouse was just defending himself. And Ed Krasenstein has the balls to say this is a both sides issue. It is absolutely not. And he is one of the biggest fuel containers being dumped on this fire. And he knows it. He's just scared now, because maybe he didn't intend for it to go this far, but now that it has, he's afraid. Many of them are afraid, and they should be. Again, I'm not calling for violence against them, but I do want justice to be brought against them. Absolutely. Do I think they should be um, censored? No, actually, like specifically MSNBC. This pissed me off so bad. MSNBC had the gall to say that the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, and I honestly don't care to know his name. The gall to say that it's Charlie's words that brought this upon him. We shouldn't be surprised that this happened to him. And then to say that the gun trump may not even been somebody trying to target him. It could have been his supporter celebrating and accidentally shooting him. I don't think MSNBC should be taken off the air for this. I do not think they should be losing their license. I want them to stay on the air. I want CNN to stay on the air. I want all of them to stay on the air, because I want their filth to be put out in the sunlight. I want everybody to know how disgusting, vile, and evil these people truly are. I want the whole world to know what their ultimate goal is. I want it to be as clear as day. So do not silence them. Now, if they commit crimes, like legitimate crimes without a shadow of a doubt, I don't think new laws, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I don't think new laws should be made just so we can arrest them. But if they have violated current laws, absolutely take them to prison, arrest them, take them on, not the network, unless the network themselves entire behind it, take them off the air. I want Ed Krasenstein, whether that is through criminal law or other means, without violence, to be held accountable for his words and his actions. I I do not support those who are calling violence against him. And honestly, I was looking at some of the threats he was posting, because I love the little FBI, Cash Patel, look, I got a threat. You know what? People that do that, because I see it on the right too. People that do that, you're full of crap. You're not truly afraid, because if you're afraid, you would do it the right way. They are, because I've done this. I've reached out to the FBI for it. It wasn't a violent thing. It was a fraud thing. They have a hotline, they have websites, and they have many other ways to report crimes against you that may qualify for FBI involvement. If you go on the internet and screenshot the post and at the FBI, you're not truly afraid. You're doing it to fan the flames. You want to be the woe is me, I'm the victim here. Don't point the finger at me. And Ed, you're disgusting for doing that. And anybody else on the right, it's not just him. He's the main focus because of what happened yesterday. But anybody that does that, like FBI, look at this. No, take the screenshot, reach out to their hotline, contact the people you need to in the ways you need to contact them. I think somebody was just at my front door. Um, do not, absolutely, if you immediately, I do not hold much credit and believe. It's like the boy who cried wolf. If you point, immediately go out and say, "Look, I'm getting threats at the FBI," and you and Cash Patel, then I think you're just doing it to fan the flames and make it worse and misdirect people on it. Um, Ed Krasinski specifically mentioned I can't. I'm going to actually say her name because I don't know the whole story by this. And last time I heard this individual that was killed, um, come to find out, as of right now, was a right wing extremist because they do exist. I'm not going to act like they don't. He said, "Remember when Melissa Hartman was killed? Republicans tried to blame the Democrats, even though the guy was far right lunatic." Because there was actually some evidence to support he might have been a Democrat. But you know what? When we found out he was a Republican or right, we definitely called him out. What we don't see from his side, they always constantly the predominant ones. I'm not talking about the average piss ants on X or any other social media platform that is doing this. I'm talking about the main faces, the politicians, the media, the influencers. They always try to deflect and excuse why something happened by their side. Always. They never condemn. They'll do the well. That's not true. They'll do the guys. We don't support political violence. Please don't get violent. But at the same time, considering how Charlie talked, is anybody really surprised it happened? That's what they do. It is a meaningless attempt to make it look like they're calling these people out. Um, there was a predominant Democrat profile on X that is immediately it's saying we don't. They said we don't. The most they said was we don't condone political or they don't support political violence, and then immediately give you all the reasons why Charlie Kirk was a horrible person. Immediately, and they were doing it all through the night last night. Um, I haven't seen Crowder yet. I intend to watch him. Ultra. I have every intention to watch him. I'm watching Tim Pool because the pain I saw in his eyes when he made his post on X when he found out the news resonated with me, and I knew he was very involved with Charlie Kirk. I honestly don't know how much Crowder has been involved with Charlie Kirk. I obviously I believe he was involved with Charlie Kirk, but I don't know how far it went. Um, Let me get caught up in chat. I wish she could be deported back. And honestly, I agree. I think I honestly, Ilhan Omar, I don't think she needs to be in our prisons. That's a waste of our taxpayer dollars. She needs to be deported because I do believe she's a asset, an enemy asset. We are a country that have lost our sense of personal sense of responsibility. We must own our sins and must all own our actions in this world and stop blaming our neighbors. Exactly. Nicholas Sandman. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. But at least you guys know who it. Yeah, the reporter was fired, but that's not good enough. Honestly, I don't think he should have been fired. He probably isn't. He's probably still like in the behind the scenes. He won't be on TV for it anymore. Um, and the staying vigilant thing, I'll make a comment about that in a second too, because I'm building up into this. Um, and this is why I'm pissed off at Ed and what he said specifically. I am intentionally, constantly calling this man out because he is a disgusting human being. Him and Henry Sisson and David Hogg, because these are influenced, and our people are dumb enough to believe what they say, and they fall sympathetic to them. Um, Again, and I don't, it's not an exact number. This is not fact, so don't quote me on this. I'm just giving a generalized statement that for every one violent act by the right, there are 10 violent acts to the left. We had the Summer of Love. We had the 2020 riots, the BLM riots. We constantly have BLM violence. So many people died during that, and they constantly, mostly peaceful. It's just for racial justice. It's just that. It's just this thing and that thing. And we had the Trump supporter getting shot in Seattle, just walking down the street. We've had the store owners that got attacked during the BLM riots, and I don't remember the names. I don't remember where it was, but I remember the story. The son ended up committing suicide because all the threats he was getting. We have the assassination attempt on Trump. We have we have Charlie Kirk. We have the school shootings that have been at Christian schools by trans activists. We have had Antifa constantly attacking people. We have the attacker in Cop City in Atlanta. Like I can keep going on. Yes, okay. I'm gonna give them Jan 6, and it's not because I agree with them. I'm gonna give them Jan 6 because there were violent people there that were right leaning. but there was Jan 6. This Melissa Hortman, I think I forgot her name already. Um, I 100%. Those people should be condemned, and they have been condemned nonstop by the most prominent people on the right. But the left always has to excuse. A perfect example. Um, Now, the violent act itself that was carried out in Charlotte last week was not in itself political, but they did their damnedest to make it political. Um, they excuse he's mentally unwell. There was a failure in the security system in the metro. He like they're trying everything and they're getting more mad at the right calling out the inaction to have this man locked up behind bars than they are mad at the fact that this man killed a woman. And I don't care about the race at this point. The fact is we have a judicial system in a lot of these areas that are absolutely broken, and it's the right that's always the problem. It is always the right. It's not the AG or the judges that are letting these criminals roam the street. The cop most of the time the cops are doing their jobs locking these people up, but then the prosecutors and the judges just let them go and they can continue out with the murders and the attacks. um Southern stop. I gotta take a leak. I'm gonna stop the recording and start it back up, and then we'll be right back. I'm gonna take a piss, and then I'm gonna get into what Alter just said about this whole the staying vigilant. But what Crowder said about staying vigilant. So let me, or I'm Alter and Dork, but I'll be right back. Before I move on to the vigilant thing, there's one more thing I want to point out about Ed Krasenstein, and I'm using him as an example. He is not the only one doing this by any means. I forgot to grab another beer. He's just an example I'm using because he's the one that's been popping up on my timeline the most. And I'm honestly am not sure why. Maybe it's because I keep reacting to his post. I'm trying to keep the label off of beer because this is not supported by beer company. There's no beer of the week. I'm going to talk about some other posts that Ed has made since this has all happened. That is like a perfect example of the people that claim that they are upset and don't support this. Yeah, see, so Capitol Police, and if this is true, and if this is somebody by the right, this is not. Do not do this. Stop doing this. But Ed just posted Capitol. Well, that's. But there apparently is something going on. Congress staff an incident unfolding at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in Washington, D.C. Senate affairs were told to shelter in place immediately, and police responded. There's a huge police presence in DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C., reportedly due to a bomb threat. These threats of violence need to end. Fuck off, Ed. Seriously. Sorry, I was trying not to cuss. But he's getting what he wants. This is the worst thing that bomb threats against the Democrats was the worst thing we could have done. And I'm hoping and praying it's a hoax, but unfortunately, I don't think it is because I think the tensions have gotten so high in this country. We're getting to that point where these things are going to keep happening. And unfortunately, with the situation with Charlie Kirk, as sad as it is, I'm not surprised that it happened. I am surprised it took this long for it to happen, and I will not be surprised if it's the last one to happen. And I will not be surprised if acts getting carried out against the left, like bomb threats at the DNC, if it's true and not a hoax. But this little bullshit pansy ass, sorry, trying not to cuss, with these threats of violence need to end without knowing if this is or is not a hoax. Because how many times have we heard about the hoax? Oh, my favorite thing is him mentioning the pipe bombs at the DNC that nobody in the Biden administration even bothered to investigate. In fact, the last time I heard about anybody actually looking into it is after Trump took office. Still, nothing's happened, so I'm a little wary of why Trump's administration is taking so long to look into this. But like the pipe bombs on January 5th just disappeared and didn't resurface till recently. But then Ed's like worried about what's on the guy's shirt. I know what he's trying to do because it looks like an American flag and possibly a bald eagle on the shirt. They're desperate to try to make this a right wing person. And then this is 3 hours ago. Remember, the Epstein files are still being hidden. Like Trump may be hiding something, absolutely sure, but this little bitch is trying to cover up what happened to Charlie Kirk with this bullshit. I haven't forgotten the Epstein files. I still will not forget the Epstein files. In fact, I called out Kash Patel for his words and lack of action for the Epstein files and other things the other night. And then him using 9/11 to call us together and no more violence when he is, again, one of the main reasons there's been violence against these people And then he's posting more screenshots of people making death threats again. Will the right condemn this or claim lunatics or Democrats? You know what, Ed? The right constantly does it. It's kind of like with Trump saying, are you going to condemn white supremacists? And Trump did it over and over again, but it wasn't good enough. That's exactly what Ed is doing. He's doing this. He's going to keep doing this over and over again, even though the right constantly calls these people out and tells them to stop. He doesn't give a shit. He only cares about continuing to fan the flames and play victim when it's convenient for him. And then this bullcrap about we must catch Charlie Kirk's killer. He's on the loose. That's the unbelievable. How can anyone feel safer right now? This is horrible. Again, his fault. I'm not saying he should be any violent action should be carried out against him. I'm not saying that at all. Russian troll farms are in full force trying. So one on one hand, we need to condemn these right lunatics that are supposedly making death threats against him. On the other hand, he's saying the Russian troll farms are out. So which is it? Are these Russian trolls or are these right wing lunatics making death threats against you? So these people do not care about toning it down. They want it to continue. They want to get it right, make it worse. So we'll go ahead and get into the staying vigilant stuff. I had a couple more messages were sent. Crowder did like a 30-minute stream this morning, and he was very straightforward. I'm pretty sure Crowder and Charlie were close. I think they were too, Ultra. Like I said at the beginning of all this, I actually don't. I wasn't like. I'm not saying I didn't support Charlie Kirk. I actually do support what he did, but I didn't follow him close enough to know. I'm actually finding out he was heavily involved with a lot of people that I follow, and I didn't even realize it. And I didn't even realize he was only 31. Yes, exactly, and that's exactly what they're doing. What if just said, for those who aren't in the live stream, the left burned down the bridge of political discourse between two sides and then blamed us for burning their fingers on the match. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what Ed is constantly doing. He wants us to, in his mind, he says this is not a one side, it's a both sides issue, but in his mind, it's absolutely one side, but it's the right. And he hates that we keep pointing out that it's the left, and he's doing everything he can. And again, he's not the only one. He's the one I'm seeing the most. He's doing everything he can to point out that it is the right, to make them the victims and we are the perpetrators. And Dark Girl says the left can't take responsibility for their actions. They cut themselves and blame us for the bleeding. Exactly. It's kind of like that meme with the kid with the stick on a bike and he shoves it in the wheels of his own bike and it flips over and holds his knee and blames somebody else for it. But the staying vigilant. So I want to say, was it Roosevelt? I'm really bad at quoting things, but Roosevelt says, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." I'm going to take that. I'm not saying that's what we need to do. What I think we need to do is we need to speak loud enough to be heard, but make sure we are carrying the big stick when things don't go well. Like in the case, for example, and what I mean to give you an example, what I'm trying to say with that is Charlie Kirk was constantly speaking so he can be heard. He didn't want himself or anybody else to be violent or silent. So that's what I think we should do. But on the backside, on the other hand, we need to carry our something to be willing to defend ourselves, those we love, and what we support when time comes. I don't think it's the time for us to be the aggressors yet. No, I know. Well, I can't say that because they may be a time we need to be the aggressors. But right now, I don't think that's it. Like I said, the bomb threats against the DNC that absolutely should not be happening right now if it's real. It's just convenient that Ed is all over it. We need to absolutely stay vigilant. We should do everything we can to keep the conversation going. But like I said earlier, it's really hard to keep the conversation open and going when the other side says the conversation is over. So that's where the carrying the big stick is. Keep trying. Don't stop to open the bridges of dialogue. We can rebuild them. It won't be an easy feat. It will take time. It will take a lot of effort. It will take some more pain and suffering that is definitely to come. But we can still do it. At the same time, however, stay vigilant enough so you're ready to defend yourself when you need to. And I'm talking about violently. If you're attacked, don't roll over. It's like, well, I don't want to look like the aggressor. No, do what you need to do to protect yourself and those you love. As I was saying, I was getting my pale white skin and it was getting washed out by the sun. So I was putting the umbrella up and then the battery to the camera died. So we switched out the battery, and here we are. Um, well, yeah, you guys are still good, Dork, because you guys are live on a webcam. The camera that's recording the episode's battery died. Um, but as I was saying about staying vigilant, absolutely stay vigilant. I don't remember the whole Bible verse, but I know I do remember enough. But like, be vigilant because your adversary, the devil, is roaming the earth seeking whom he may devour. And don't be mistaken, the devil is definitely in work in this country right now. He's in work in the world. I mean, he always has been. He takes different forms each and every time, but he is absolutely looking who he may devour, and he's absolutely doing everything he can to succeed. So we absolutely need to stay vigilant. We need to obviously do our best as Christians to open our hearts and minds for love. Like I said, I got angry. I'm very disgusted by Ed Krasicine and his ilk, the people like them. Um, again, he's only being picked on because he's the one I've been seeing the most and the one that's been pissing me off the most. There are plenty of others that have said just as bad or more horrible things than he has, trying to make themselves the victim when in reality they're not as much of a victim as they're trying to make the rest of us believe. But we should stay vigilant. I don't think we should. Our violence should be our first response to everything, but we should absolutely keep it in our back pocket if we need to defend ourselves. Absolutely, make no mistake. There are people out there, as seen by what happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday, that absolutely would like. I was telling my wife this yesterday when she made the comment about him being a right wing um, activist. I said, I was like, babe, you do realize they would absolutely love the same thing to happen to me. The only difference is I'm not prominent enough for them to know who I am. If I got on the levels of notability as Charlie Kirk, there would be people. I was thinking of this a long time ago, and I don't know if I ever mentioned it on stream or in any of my videos or anything. Um, everybody has somebody out there that wants them dead. The only thing that is stopping it from happening is the person doesn't know who that person is yet. What I mean by that is the person that wants me dead, they want me for who I am and who I stand for dead, but they don't know me as Eric Honda. Like, they don't know me by name. They just know me by my ideals and beliefs, and they want me dead. Everybody has that person out there. And it's more prevalent. Well, I mean, I personally believe it's more prevalent on the left that more people want people like us dead than there are of us that want them dead. Honestly, if you're a Christian wishing somebody dead, I question. Well, I'm not gonna say you're not a Christian because everybody has low points, but there are definitely people that pose to be Christians, but they're absolutely horrible people just using God's name to justify what they're doing. Just like the left uses racism and homophobia and sexism and all that other stuff to justify what they say and do. No different. There are people that use, and honestly, the Lord's name in vain to claim that it is God, by God's will and division and divinity that they are right in what they do, which is not the truth. But God also knows that we need. But it was it. Trying to remember the other verse about defending yourself and those that you love. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'm not going to even attempt to quote it. Maybe somebody else can quote it appropriately, but I hope you guys know what I'm trying to say. But violence, actually, love, kindness, and generosity should be our first response always, but we should not be afraid to do what is necessary to protect us and those we love and stand for. Um, is Israelites like I know a lot of people are condemning the Jewish people for what they're doing now. Are the Jews is Israel 100% innocent in everything they're doing? Absolutely not. They are definitely got some self-inflicted wounds. However, I do think they still reserve the right to defend themselves because everybody in their region absolutely wants them wiped off the face of the earth. Obviously, I don't expect people who aren't Christians to believe that or understand that. But if you read the Bible and understand what is going on and what will happen in the future, you are very well aware that you can anybody that abandons God's chosen people are gonna pay the price ultimately. And I've often said to my friends and family that the moment the United States 100% cuts off Israel and God forbid even goes against Israel is the moment the United States will 100% fail, not it will cease to exist in relevancy. Maybe the United States itself would still exist, but it would not be the United States we think and know and love. Um, again, I'm not saying you need to support all the evil. There is evil being conducted by the Israeli government and the Israeli military. I'm not saying you need to support or defend that, But to completely cut them off and say we don't need to support them anymore is wrong in my book. Zeus, do you need water? Okay, hold on a second. I know I keep interrupting this, but I'm going to give my dog some water. Sorry about that again. I got to take care of my dogs. I love my dogs. I'm going to take care of them. Um, but yeah, we. I was saying at the beginning of this video slash stream that one of the things we can find comfort in is knowing that in the end we're going to win. God, there's victory in Jesus. We've already won before it even officially started. We've won before it's ended. There's no changing that. But that is not a reason for us to just sit back and wait for the rapture to happen, or sit back and wait and just let God do what He did. One of my favorite parables, or I don't know if it's a parable, I don't know what the correct term is. One of the favorite stories, it's not a true story, obviously, that I've heard many of my pastors tell me growing up was the story of the man in his house during a flood. Kept praying, God, send somebody to save me. Please send somebody to save me. The rescue services come by in a truck saying, hey, get in. This area is flooding. We need to take you to safety. And the guy responds, no, it's okay. I prayed to God for him to rescue me. A boat comes by as the water rises higher and he's on the second floor. They say the same thing to him, like, hey, get in. We need to take you to safety. The floodwaters are rising. We want to get you to safety. The guy responds again, no, it's okay. I trust in God. I asked him to come save me. So I don't need your help. He ends up on the rooftop because the water's raised that much higher, and a helicopter comes by. It's like, hey, get on the rope. We're going to pull you into the helicopter. We want to take you to safety. And the guy again responds, no, it's okay. I prayed to God. He's going to save me. I don't need your help. Guy ends up drowning because the water rose and he had nowhere else to stand. He gets to heaven, looks at God and says, God, why didn't you save me? I prayed and believed in that you would save me. God responds with, I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter, and you denied all three of them. What else do you want me to do? Far too many Christians expect these miraculous miracles that cannot be explained to happen, when sometimes God gives you the answer right in front of you and you refuse to acknowledge it. Why I'm saying this is to specifically talk about, like, okay, yes, we know we're going to win in the end. That does not give us the justification and the right to sit back and do nothing. We absolutely need to remain vigilant. We absolutely need to do everything we can to reach as many people as we can. We need to do everything we can to make that victory oh so much more sweeter. So when we get to heaven, like Charlie Kirk says, they hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Sitting back, you're not serving anything. You're just being lazy. God will help us. He gives us the tools we need to succeed. He'll give us the strength and wisdom we need to get through everything. But if we just expect him to do everything, we're gonna just constantly we're gonna constantly be miserable, and we're gonna think we've never been answered. When the reality, he's answered us time and time again. But we just kept saying, no, that's okay. God's gonna take care of it. For example, I talked about, I'm not gonna bring that up now. Never mind. It's not that I don't want you guys to know. It's just it's not the appropriate setting for this. But to wrap this up with hope, because I thought I actually talked a lot longer than that. It's only been an hour and 20 minutes. Granted, it's an hour and 20 minutes on one subject. The one thing I want to, despite all this doom and gloom, there's a lot going on right now. The school shooting at the Catholic school, the poor girl getting stabbed and murdered in Charlotte because our justice systems failed us over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The Epstein files still not being released by somebody we were supposed to trust and believe would release it. The pipe bomb from DC still not being taken care of. Like, the person who did it is still on the loose. The assassination attempt on Trump not fully being answered. Both of them, at least I know there's been multiple, but the two prominent ones that everybody knows about. The Russia apparently on the verge of invading Poland. The Israel bombing Qatar, which has pissed off a lot of people. The Jewish hate rising in this country, both on the left and the right. Oh, that's another thing. Well, no. I mean, I was going to talk about the Israeli embassy workers that got murdered in D.C. But honestly, you could argue that's left or right. Unfortunately, there are definitely far right extremists that hate Jewish people. I mean, it's true. But there's also left this, but they hate them for different reasons. Um, all that happening, and this is seemingly like this country is falling apart, but in reality, don't let that blind you to all the good that is still happening. Yes, the economy may not be exactly where we want it. Granted, Trump hasn't even been in office for a full year yet, and he's already done a lot more than any other president in my lifetime. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. Has ever done to help improve this economy. Is it going to be fixed overnight? No, and that's sort of the problem of having the Burger King generation, where you have everything your way immediately when you ask for it. That's not going to happen. It's going to take time. We may not see it for another couple presidencies. The only downside with that is Trump may have it on the verge of things turning around by the time he leaves office and we vote a Democrat in, and everything just goes right out the window, because it's so much easier to destroy than it is to build back up. We're still winning, though. Again, like I said, in the end, we ultimately win. And one thing that brought me a lot of hope is the amount of people that came together. A lot of people that says, I don't agree with Charlie Kirk says or does, but they are absolutely like legitimate people, not the fake people, the Ed Krasensteins of the media, politics, and the internet, that are pretending to be upset by this because they want to make sure they can switch it over to their narrative and play the victim. But there are legitimate people out there that are bothered by this. Matt Rife, a comedian my wife and I both love, he's, as far as I know, I don't even know where he stands politically. I'm going to say he's more on the liberalism side of things, like a true liberalism, not a leftist liberal. He's definitely not conservative. Um, Matt Rife, who probably didn't vote for Trump, can care less about Trump. I don't know. He might have even voted for Kamala for all I know. I don't know. That's how little I know about him politically. Came out and says he's absolutely disgusted by what happened because somebody said something they disagree with him. They murdered him, and he says there's pure evil in this world. He And the reason why I think it affects somebody like him as much, his job would cease to exist if freedom of speech ceased to exist. And I think he knows that. I think a lot of people, like a lot of normies in the free speech world, realize like, hey, some lunatic can kill me just because they disagree with what I say. That gives me hope that hopefully more and more people wake up to this evil. More and more people will move from the groggy stage, from the they're still asleep, to the groggy stage, or hopefully they'll skip the groggy stage and start waking up. And then those who are in the groggy stage fully wake up and see what's happening in front of them, see what the media is saying about how a Charlie Kirk supporter could have accidentally shot Charlie in celebration when he fired his firearm, or that Charlie kind of got what he deserved because he's a horrible human being, when nothing about him says he's horrible. They just don't like what he has to say. They fully believe in their minds that words are violence. But then when we call them out for what they're saying to ignite the flames and cause actual real violence, they're like, no, 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 that didn't happen. We're not doing that. That's not our fault. No, 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 that can't be possible. Hopefully more and more people are waking up to that. And more people speak out. I'm not looking for people to be all adamant Trump supporters. I'm not looking for people to be Republicans. I'm looking for people to wake up and see, holy crap, people hate freedom of speech so much they're willing to kill for it. That's what I'm hoping for. It is not the ultimate goal. Is actually, I would love everybody to save and become Christians and have Christian morals and values. But reality, as sad as it is, that's not going to happen. But a good start to get into that area is people waking up to freedom of speech. One of the things I saw that's been very encouraging since this all happened too is a lot more people talk about they want to go back to church, or they should go to church, or they should take their family to church. A lot more of that is happening. Even myself, I'm looking at myself and say what more I need to do to walk a path in Christ. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to make all the right answers. I don't know the answers to everything, but I am going to strive to do my best to get there. I'm not perfect. Let me go ahead and read it on chat too, because I know a lot more. This is Satan's world unless Jesus comes back with a no. I disagree, Dork. This is God's world. Satan just thinks he owns it. That's again going back to we've won this before it even finished. This is God's world. Until not unless. I hope you have talked to your local PD in case of swattings. I mean, I have not, Dork, because I don't think that's going to be an issue for me. Not yet, not for a while. I'm too small for that to be an issue. If the moment I start getting censored and banned on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, that's when I'll start be more concerned about swattings, because then that means I'm getting enough notoriety that people are paying attention to me. I haven't received a single death threat either, so I'm taking precautions. I'm not gonna say what the precautions are because I don't want people to know them. But I'm not getting to the point where I need to talk to my PD yet. I don't wish death on anyone that believes in leftists. I just wish for them to have the moment of clarity and thought. Exactly what if. That's what I'm trying to say. I we cannot be, and I know the Bible says turn the other cheek, but at the same time, like I said, the Bible also has stories about Jericho, David and Goliath, and God smiting his enemies. Now, do we need to actively go out and hunt these people down and smite them? No, but we need to do what we must to protect us and those we love. And that's the difference between us and the right and the left. Agreed. What if? I wish I could say the same about what if I just pray God will deal with them when he will. They will be dealt with them. You guys are going to make me talk about my ending before I even get to that point. Our Lord was a Jew, meaning he abided by the laws of Moses, and Christians have unfortunately forgotten that and turned against him. Exactly, Purdy. That's what the point I'm trying to get. The Old Testament is what Judaism is built off of. What the issue with the problem with Judaism, they're still stuck in the Old Testament. We've already moved on to the New Testament. In their eyes and minds, Jesus hasn't even come to earth in the first place. It was just a prophet. And so they don't believe in the resurrection of Christ. They don't believe in salvation. They still believe in the Old Testament laws. And a lot of Christians, not Judaism. I'm not going to say all Jews. I'm talking about those who still practice Judaism. There are actually, for those who don't know, there is a difference between Jews that are by birth, by blood, and Jews by religion. Judaism is a separate thing from the Jews themselves. Like, there are Christian Jews. They exist. There's even Muslim Jews. There's atheist Jews. There's like it is a thing. It happens. It exists. The Jew, the race, or the people and nationality is not one and the same with Judaism. Can't take the wheel, but he can guide us where he just exactly what if. 1968 is the last time we had a political assassination. We are living what people watched in JFK experience, and actually, yeah. Last year should have been the most recent political assassination. The only thank God, the kid that did it missed. And well, actually, he didn't miss. If Trump didn't turn his head, we'd be having a completely different conversation. We'd have a completely different country at this moment. But literally, Trump turned his head at the right moment. That's when people expect God to help. That's the kind of miracle they're looking for. Something like that. It's not like what caused Trump in that moment, the moment that shooter pulled the trigger to turn his head so precisely that, or at the precise moment that it still hit him, but it wasn't enough to seriously injure him. It took a chunk of his ear out, and that's it. That's what a lot of Christians are constantly looking for. They want that kind of miracle, when sometimes the miracle they're looking for is as simple as a firefighter coming to put the house out when your house just randomly catches on fire. Or a surgery going well. Sometimes the miracle doesn't have to be something unexplained. The miracle can be as simple as God guided the hands of the surgeon doing his job, and you pulled out okay, and you're having a quick, speedy recovery. Yeah, exactly, Mastering Rumble. And speaking of which, actually, I'm glad Mastering you said that. So Mastering just said one of the creators of South Park is Jewish and an atheist. I'm not so much about the atheists and Jew. Well, I'm glad he said that to prove my point, but he also brings up another valid point. People are calling for, and I guess South Park brought down the episode that had Charlie Kirk in it. I don't think that was the correct answer. As far as I know, Charlie Kirk thought that episode was funny. I don't think that episode caused the murder of Charlie Kirk. As far as I know, I haven't seen it. I don't know about it. All I know is Kirk thought it was funny and laughed at it and thought no big deal about it. But if it didn't actually call for violence against him, I don't see why that episode should be brought down. Do I like it? No. Do I like what South Park has become? No. Granted, I've never been a huge South Park supporter, but I like some of their stuff. They went from one that would attack all sides to now they're very heavily attacking the right only. That is a problem. But do I think they should be taken down off the air and censored for it? No. No, absolutely not. I think actually the Charlie Kirk episode should be put back up. I don't think people need to be censored. Absolutely not. Now there are people getting upset about like teachers celebrating in class with their kids after they found out Kirk died. Um, People are like, well, they shouldn't be censored. Honestly, they're allowed to say whatever they want, but they should not be influencing young minds. They're so enabled to control themselves and their emotions to celebrate the death of somebody just because they disagree with them in the middle of a class. That person absolutely 1,000% needs to be fired. Does the internet need to take it upon themselves? No, but obviously a parent found out about it. It's on that parent to reach out to the school board and ensure that person is fired. And if the school doesn't do what they're supposed to do, then to reach out to the other parents to get them all to unite. I don't think the internet should go out. The Dork was talking about the doxing. I don't think the internet needs to go out there and start doxing everybody. If a like in one of the examples I saw, a parent found out through their daughter that the teacher and some students were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, in the middle of a class. That is on that parent to reach out to the school board. If the school board refuses to do anything, reach out to other parents and make it known to them. And then if the parents still can't get the school board to do what is necessary, the parents need to reach out to their local politicians, because that is not right. School is not to spread political ideology. Um, yeah, that's what I'm saying. What if Trump was saved by a PowerPoint? I know why he turned his head, but like the exact moment for everything that happened in my mind, I know people are going to say I'm crazy for thinking this, but in my mind, that was God's intervention to have Trump wanted to look at, because from what I understand, what people told me, he doesn't usually do things on screen like that, and he's always looking at the audience at his speeches. But in this one moment, he happened to actually have something presented on screen, and he happened to turn and look at it. Whereas all his other speeches, I can't confirm this. This is just what I've heard. He's always looking at the audience and talking to the audience. The only head movement he's doing is from one end of the audience to the other. But in this moment, he actually has something to present, and he happened to be the moment he turned to look at it is when the bullet went on by. Um, Man, my ADD is kicking in a full drive. But going back to the hope of things, um, there a lot of people are waking up. People I'd never expected to respond to this, and the way that they have responded are responding it, and that gives me a lot of hope. A lot of beautiful things have been shared. Bible verses being shared. People talk about going back to church. People that I never thought would talk about praying. Are they actually Christians when they say they're going to church to pray? No, but they're taking the step in the right direction um, to become a Christian. More people talking, well, and this may sound cheesy and cringy, but people sharing quotes from Lord of the Rings, which J.R. Tolkien was a Christian. He wasn't originally, but he became a Christian, and I can't remember if he said the Lord of the Rings was not meant to be a Christian work, but it ended up becoming one, or if he initially wrote it. I can't remember how it went. Bella, Bella, grief, dogs, you have the worst timing. Bella, stop. Go get some water. That's Zeus that just walked behind me. Bella's over there. Um, People using quotes from the Lord of the Rings, like talk about dark times. Like one of my favorite ones from the Lord of the Rings, what stuck with me ever since I first saw it. I'm gonna screw it up, but essentially it's Frodo looking at Gandalf in the Mines of Moria, saying, "I wish this never came to me. Why do I have to go through this? It's dark and depressing. Essentially, blah blah blah." Actually, it's a very short sentence by Frodo, but basically saying, "I wish the ring never came to me." Essentially, is what he said. And then Gandalf looks at him with a kind smile and says, "So do all who see such times." Um, but you know what? I'm gonna actually look up that quote because I want to. It's a beautiful quote. So do all who, live to see such times. So Frodo essentially says, "I wish the ring never came to me." I'm gonna AI I could break down. Yeah, here's the whole thing. "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. And then Gandalf, again, in the movie, I've never read the book, so I'm in full disclosure. In the movie, Gandalf looks at Frodo with a very kind, caring smile and says, so do I," said Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. What we have to decide is what to do with the time that has been given." That is a perfect quote, and actually, it works perfectly for what's happening today. None of us want to go through this. none of us, we all wish we can wake up tomorrow and everything just went away, but we can't do that. But it is what is in our control is what we can do when we see such times. And there was another one with I think it was a Pippin and Gandalf on the wall of Gondor, and they talk about the afterlife and the darkness and all that, and that's another beautiful moment. And seeing stuff like that happen is encouraging to me. I'm trying not to let the Ed Krasensteins of the internet get to me, and obviously the bots. I'm trying to keep hope because, again, in the end, and this is where we're going to start wrapping this up. In the end of it all, we know we win, and this is what gives me solace. And honestly, this is not a very Christian thing to do, but I'm gonna look straight in the camera when I say this. For all those who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, thinking you have won, you have not. Again, like many have said, you have woken something I don't think you're ready for. And not only that, even if we fail, for those that have awoken, we win in the end, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. We have won. I may not see the victory in my lifetime. I may not see the victory, or I may see the victory. The rapture may happen. Jesus may come back. But in the end, I know without a shadow of doubt in my mind, we have won. And there's no, you can assassinate. I hope it doesn't, and I pray it doesn't happen. I pray that no more violence happens. But they can assassinate as many people as they want. They can even take my life. But in the end, you guys have lost. You have already lost. This is an exercise in futility because there's nothing you can do about it. Now, do I have hatred for you? No. Am I angry? And yes, I am angry. I'm very angry at people that are supporting this stuff. But I still hope and pray. I haven't said the prayer yet because I need to get myself the right mind. So I'm not just saying it to say the prayer, but I hope and pray that you guys understand what you're doing is wrong and find Christ and come to know him and understand what we all been trying to say for the past decade or so. So if you guys are feeling dark and depressed right now, understand, first of all, Charlie is with the Lord right now. He has achieved ultimate victory. He was told, well done, thou good and faithful servant. As dark and depressing as what happened, especially the imagery that followed, because unfortunately in modern times where everything's on camera and can be shared far and wide before anybody can get control of it, Charlie's death may be the best thing this country has had happen to it in a long time. I know that sounds horrible, but hear me out. This may be, as a lot have been saying, it's ironic that Charlie Kirk has formed an organization called Turning Point, and his death may in fact be that turning point. A lot of people thought the assassination attempt on Trump was the turning point. For those, but this might actually be the turning point. That might have been just the precursor. This may actually be the turning point that we all need and been praying for. As sad as, unfortunately, I wish Charlie Kirk didn't have to die for this to get to this point, but that might be the truth. I remember, for those who know history, my dad brought me up on Civil War history. He's a curator at a museum right now, concerning the Civil War, about a specific Northern officer, and intentionally keeping it vague for a person. Anybody that knows me knows who I'm talking about and where my dad works. I was brought up in Civil War history. World War II and Civil War history were like, and a little bit of the Revolutionary War is what I was brought up on. For those who don't know, the Battle of Gettysburg, there was a point where the South pushed the North so far back, it was called the high water mark of the Confederacy. The moment you thought the Confederacy was going to win, but the tide turned and the North pushed them back to ultimately win the war. This may be that turning point. It may not be. It may not. And we may be far from the actual turn. And there may never be a turning point. This may be the end of the United States we know and love. But ultimately, we know that we're going to win through Christ. And that's where we should find comfort. And also keep in hope and pray that this was the turning point we needed. I'm very heartbroken for Charlie Kirk and his family. I'm devastated to think that his kids potentially witnessed their dad to be brutally murdered, assassinated on stage. And I'm devastated to know that they're not going to grow up. They're going to grow up without a very loving and caring father that would have been a perfect role model for them to grow up to. And he still is. Unfortunately, they're just not going to be able to experience it firsthand anymore. They're going to have to do it through stories and meeting people who are impacted and affected by Charlie Kirk and what he's done. But this ultimately is not the end. United States may cease to exist within the next 5 years, but it's not over. We haven't lost. And even with that all in mind, like I said, we won. We know we're winning, and we have won. That is not an excuse for us to stop trying. Absolutely keep trying. And keep trying to the day the Lord calls you back. Do not give up. And for those who aren't Christians and probably have turned me off, or tuned me out, or maybe even they're not even listening, like shut off the stream altogether. Hey Goffo, thank you so much for the raids. I appreciate it, man. For those who aren't Christians and may not like, I just hope somehow I touched you in some way, and did what Charlie said. Tell somebody about Jesus this weekend. I know it's not the weekend, but you get what I'm trying to say. Hopefully this touched you, and maybe even if you don't believe in God, and maybe hopefully you will someday come to. Hopefully this gives you hope in a very dark time for our country. I'm going to tell you, I was telling my wife, I'm going to end on this. I'm going to end on this. I told my wife this 4th of July is the most, the atmosphere on the 4th was the most cleared, aired. I don't know really how to, I told my wife something felt different for this 4th of July. I felt American pride coming back. We're still a long way off from the American pride we used to have back when I was a kid. But my street was lined with patriotic decorations. I don't think I've ever seen that since I moved into this house, ever. Maybe a couple here and there. And I need to get a new flag to put it back in my house. Despite all the flaws this country has, despite all the evil that's going on in it right now, despite Trump may not even be the answer, he actually may be doing more harm than good, I still believe this is the greatest country in the world. And I still believe as long as we keep God in our hearts and our minds, we will still be a very strong and powerful nation. I fully believe that. And I'm not going to give up. That's not to say I won't get depressed. I won't get discouraged. I won't slip into darkness. That happens. We're still human. But I think one of the reasons why I ultimately didn't completely lose it is because I keep in mind everything I just talked about in today's episode. Hold the Ed Krasensteins accountable. But also keep yourself in check too. Make sure you don't go too far and take it too far. I'm not saying there's not a moment where we may have to take up arms to defend ourselves, but what I'm saying is it should not be our go-to move. I know a lot of people feel like it needs to be right now. Enough is enough. We still have the opportunity to hold people accountable without violence. And as long as that is available, we need to try everything in our power and live by what Charlie Kirk said, that the moment conversation ends, violence begins. The left, there are people on the left that says the conversation is over, but there's still people that haven't completely shut it out, and we can still have an opportunity to reach them. And that's what I hope for. So with that being said, and again, Goffo, thank you so much for the raid. I'm going to get caught up on chat, and then we'll wrap this up. I know this was a little different. I know the atmosphere is thick, and I know it's discouraging, depressing. I'm not perfect. I know a lot of people may be thinking, Kondo, what do we do? What's the correct answer? Honestly, what is the correct answer when our justice system is failing us? The person we voted in office isn't exactly doing everything we want them to do. Epstein files specifically is heavy on my mind. The money still going to Ukraine is still on my mind. Why is it, and the FBI doesn't seem to be doing what they need to be doing? God forbid the shooter was an insider. This was a false flag. God forbid. What do we do? Honestly, I don't have the answer. The only surefire answer I can give you is pray and trust God. That's it. Whatever God calls you to do, as long as your heart is right with Him, will be the correct answer. And that's the best advice I can give you. I don't know what the right answer is. The best answers I can give you: pray, trust God, get your heart right with God, and don't give up. Don't back down. Don't give up any more ground. That's the best thing I can tell for you. What God tells you is what you need to do as an individual to help things improve in this country or even this world is what you need to do. But make sure your heart is right with God before you act on it, because we're human. We have emotions. Lord knows I have them. You guys see them almost every time I stream. So don't give up. It's not over yet. We're winning. It may not seem like we're winning, but we're winning. We've won ultimately. All right, sorry, the recording stopped. But we won. Ultimately, we won. And we're gonna win. We may not see it in our lifetime, but we're gonna win. Take comfort in that. No matter what happens in the next coming weeks, months, or years, we've won. Always take comfort in that. All right, let me get caught up on chat, and we'll go ahead and wrap this stream up. Like I said, Goffo, thank you so much for the raid. Coffee, welcome to the stream, my man. Thank you for welcoming the Raiders, Dork. I appreciate it. I'm trying not to get. I hope I'm right. Well, I mean, I am right on the we won part, but I hope I'm right on everything else I said. The correct answer is love God. Exactly. Pray for God to rid this world of evil. Exactly. 100%. And Durham, great to see you again, brother, over on the YouTube world. Like I said, normally I shut off the stream at some point and make it Rumble only because I know these platforms would censor half the crap I say when I'm doing these grab a beer episodes. But this time, I want to keep it out there. Unfortunately, granted, this is probably the most viewers I've seen on my YouTube channel since I did this, done this. So hopefully I reach more people this time. Again, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't have all the answers, and I might have said a lot of things that were wrong. But I hope the underlying message is still there. The hope and love that is out there. Yes, keep a level head and be safe. Like I said, I'm still carrying a firearm everywhere I go. I'm not going to make it easy. If anybody wants to take me out or those I love out, I'm not going to make it easy for them. But I'm not going to go hunting people down either. I'm not going to go looking for trouble. I don't want to look for trouble. So yeah, I mean, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a little different, a little unique. I normally have people call in for this, but I'm not going to do that this time. And it's not because I want to discourage conversation. The part of the reason why I was reading chat during the recording is to encourage the conversation. I'm not going to necessarily share this video far and wide, but if you find videos that will help portray what I've said better, share those with the people you know that may be struggling or the people that may be celebrating this. Yes, a lot of them don't care, and there's nothing you can do to reach them, but it doesn't mean you still don't try. So reach out to somebody. I guess my last question for chat is: should I raid, or is this not the this is not really the format I think is for raiding? But if you guys disagree and think I should raid anyway, we can. That's exactly the mentality I want you to have, Dork Girl. Dork Girl says, I'm not looking for trouble, but I'm sure as heck not staying silent. Absolutely. Yeah, keep your head on a swivel. Don't feed the people. Exactly, Pyro. Don't feed the people celebrating this. I know you raided. Thank you. Yeah, we'll go on a raid. Goffo, do you have anybody I should raid? Recommended for a raid? I don't really want to raid a gamer. Or maybe raiding a gamer might be the answer. You know, kind of. I'm not saying we distract ourselves with stuff like video games and stuff, but there's nothing wrong with still doing the things you enjoy. Raid out, please. All right, I see the link that Goffo just dropped. And Goffo, this is no disrespect to you and the person you're trying to get me to raid. I don't know. I haven't clicked the link, so I obviously don't know who's streaming this. For those who are in chat, would you rather continue the conversations and other streams that are talking about similar things, or would you rather kind of distract yourselves for a bit and do some and hang out with somebody just having a good time? So, like, 1 in chat if you want to continue the conversation, 2 in chat if you rather do something to distract you. For those that are on the other platforms, unfortunately, I'm not going to raid. I don't know on anybody on Twitch that I would want to raid, considering the conversation we just had. And I don't, as far as I know, YouTube doesn't have a raid feature. Same thing with Kick, and obviously X doesn't have a raid feature either. Who's handy? Let me look at this link that Goffo just posted. I might know who this person is. I'll give people in chat a moment. If nobody else disagrees, if nobody disagrees with continuing the conversations, I'm gonna probably raid out to what Goffo suggests, and then I'll wrap up my portion of the stream. I am struggling. This laptop is irritating me to all get out. But before I raid, regardless of what you guys decide, I appreciate you all hanging out with me. I look forward to continuing having conversations like this. I will, obviously, the next episode, I will return to my typical grab a beer format. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys and grabbing another beer sometime. Absolutely. Thanks for listening to me. Hopefully, I made a difference. Hopefully, I even learned something from all this. And I look forward to see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.